Let's get ready to grumble! And yes, my friends, it is another episode of Let's Get Ready to Grumble. And as you know, I'm Steve Grumbine, the host of the show, and I want to give a shout out to Jordan Cheriton for giving me the Vine. Special thanks to my guy Colin, who does all the video editing, and to my guest. We're going to have a guest that I've known for a very long time, who's actually in my real physical, honest to God, backyard in my town of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And that would be none other than the Savage one, Savage Joy. So let's bring on Savage Joy. Savage, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, you know, it's bananas. Next month, July, 5 years I've been doing my show. And you gave me my start. You kept saying, Joy, do a show. And I was like, I can't do a show. What are you talking about? And you're like, no, you can do it. Seriously, you can do it. And you fought me for like 6 months. And then I was like, okay. And then I was like, maybe I can do this. And 5 years later,
I got to tell you, the funniest part, I remember it like it was yesterday, because we had, what's his name? John, who was doing the our election, we called it at the time. And then John went on hiatus, left, whatever. And they were like, who do we get to interview candidates? We're like, Joy. And you're like, oh my God, Ermy Gerd. And there you were. And
I was like, I don't like being on camera. I don't even like when people take my picture. And now, like,
we
several
birthed
times
the
a week, I'm like, hi,
guys. Oh my God. All right. Well, so what brings us here together today is that on the other side of the world, we're working on something sort of together with this Medicare for All, March for Medicare for All, March on July 30th in the nation's capital. The very first one was very successful. It was all over the country. You were instrumental in that.
When his son passed away, he had over $100,000 in medical debt. And Obama came in and offered to help him pay for it. We don't have an Obama. We do not have an Obama. We do not have someone who is cool with just bailing people out.
I thought it was a magnificent thing, but there was a big problem with part one. And part one got hostily taken over by the state-by-staters. The entire concept of a national Medicare for every freaking person.
Oh, everybody!
Not a Medicare for some, not Medicare for the liberal states, not Medicare for the bourgeois and the rich, but Medicare for all. And that to me is why I support the M4 All group in particular, and why I was happy to have you come on today to talk about the efforts that are going on over there. So why don't you tee up, I guess, and tell everybody what this march is all about, and what's going on with the M4 All organization.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, last year I was a lead national organizer on the 56 marches. There were 56 cities across the nation. It started out as DC, and then people just started, you know, can we do one? Can we do one? And we just ended up organizing 56. This year, we really wanted to try and concentrate on one area to hopefully make it one big one. Because we had several, you know, kind of within an hour of each other and stuff, which spread out. I mean, some of our marches had thousands of people and some only had a couple hundred because there was another march an hour away or what have you. So we decided, let's do it DC. We're going to do it right in front of the Capitol. And so it'll be a march and rally July 30th. And we have amazing speakers, including Mr. Grumbine. So, yeah, I mean, like, it just seemed kind of, you know, it's kind of a bummer because some people are having to fly in from, you know, the West Coast and stuff. But it seemed like very appropriate to have it there because the so-called Dems are in power and we are suffering. So accountability is the number one thing. And what better way than to scream at the rooftops, listen to us. There are X amount of us. You're going to see us marching by you. We have a week of action planned before then. So we're going to be doing actions, that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday. So there's a lot we're planning that's going to be going on. A few things are a bit top secret because we don't want Popo meeting us there. Not that anything's illegal, but it's DC and, they're kind of paranoid.
Speaking of illegal, let me tell you the craziest thing about our shared state. I don't know if you know this or not, but under Pennsylvania's medical marijuana law, do you know that you cannot apply fire to weed? You can only apply vapor to weed. So you can only smoke medical marijuana with a vaporizer. You can't hit it with a bong or a pipe or anything. Flame cannot touch flower.
What?
Talk about this is what happens when good policy meets conservative people and they try and put their handprint on it and say, well, we had a say so and that we helped pass medical marijuana laws in Pennsylvania. All of a sudden, there was some wackadoo condition like that. To be fair, they started out where you couldn't even buy flour in the state of Pennsylvania. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is kind of a lead in to why we want to address Medicare for all nationally. Okay. It's because when you allow states to do things, on one hand, you want to have local power, you want to have local initiatives, and you really want to revive the people in the local community. But what happens when freaking pure unadulterated idiocy comes in? The well-meaning progressive that I'm willing to pay more for Medicare so other people can have it. And you say to yourself, but you're not getting it. Medicare is a national program paid for by our national government, which means it doesn't require your tax money to pay for. So why are you offering up to pay higher taxes for somebody else? It's not the way it works. And to me, so many things devolve from there. Once you get the jurisdiction wrong, you're starting to go state by state. Instead of focusing on the national, everything gets butchered. But that's what you got. And you also have the worst part about marijuana, which is a big deal because this is medical, right? This is not like it could be recreational, but in Pennsylvania in particular, it's just medical. And you think about what happened to the legalization efforts of marijuana. For about 10 minutes, there was 52 states or 50 states and 2 territories or 4 territories, however many territories. And everybody was fighting for legalization. Now I see most of the states that already got marijuana laws done. I don't see them fighting for everybody to get legal marijuana. And I see them, they're high, they're happy, they're mile high in it, whatever. But, but they just don't give a flying fuck about anybody else getting stoned. And so the worst part is I just saw in basketball player. He went, actually, I take that back. It was fan controlled football. He went from his state where he was allowed to smoke marijuana to another state to play football and was arrested for marijuana because he's in another state that doesn't have that law. Do you see? This is the problem when you go state by state. It's moronic at its base, at its most fundamental level. It's moronic. It ignores how money is created, which is the federal government. It ignores all the loopholes and traps of having people become, tourists into the state for medical services. All sorts of stuff. I mean, the list is so ridiculously long. It's unbelievable. What are your thoughts on state by state versus national?
Well, I recently wrote an article on my Substack, and there are tropes that are constantly said. Well, we'll pass it just like cannabis. Well, here's the thing. They've been trying to legalize cannabis for 100 years. The first legalized state was California in 1996. How many states are legal now? Less than 20.
18, I think it is.
Yeah, 24 states don't even have ballot initiatives, including ours. And then what about freaking Puerto Rico and, DC, who are not states, fuck you, sorry, tough shit.
Hello? Guess what? What? Fuck you!
DC's got the best weed policy of them all, by the way. I mean, like free for all, man. Whatever, man. Have at it.
Yeah.
It's in anyway. Keep going.
But yeah, I mean that's completely false. We'll do it state by state, just like Canada did with provinces. Well, the thing was that was how their actual constitution was written. They didn't have a choice. And also an example of that. Well, first of all, it still took over 6 years. But also an example of that is some territories are trying to appeal it. Also, which could happen. That's what happens when state runs it. Is it easier to have a whole Congress vote against, vote to repeal it, or one state at a time? Obviously, it's state. Also, the thing that we see in Canada, some have dental, some don't. Some have vision, some don't. I've actually spoken to people who live in Canada who see a doctor outside of their territory, outside of their province, have to pay full price because that province does not cover the service they need when they live in another province. These are things that can and will happen. There is no uniformity. So for people to say it's Medicare for all means all, so that's bullshit, but it's absolute lies. It is not Medicare for all because there is nothing saying a single state cannot have insurance companies in it. There's nothing saying that it cannot be changed overnight. You're talking about a ballot initiative to get it implemented. Now, that doesn't mean they can't hold amendments. No laws ever stay what they are. You get it on the ballot, you put it, you plant the seed. And if you think you're going to get what is equivalent to Medicare for all in a single state, especially when we know there's pretty much no progressives, everyone's a fucking shit lib or a Republican. So, it's all it does is set us back and make us, excited for breadcrumbs. And as a disabled person, it does not make me feel all good and warm inside that people in other states are fighting for themselves.
Let me just add to this because this is really important. When you look just the mindset, this is not specific to Medicare for all, it's specific to the mindset of what's going on in this country. When you have a right to something, okay, we always talk about a right to medical care, not a right or access to healthcare, a right to healthcare, right? When you talk about rights are universal. They go across all people, and they're almost impossible to repeal once everyone has it. When everybody has it, everybody's grateful, and it just is. It becomes part and parcel with what you are as a country. I'm looking at people talking about ending student debt. Biden just was kind enough to drop $25 billion out of $2 trillion for these Corinthian colleges. And there are neoliberals jumping up and down like they've done something incredible. Okay.
Yes! Yes! Oh, yeah! Can you feel that, buddy? Huh? Huh? Huh?
There are other people out there saying, oh, no, only for those that are broke enough that meet some means-tested neoliberal requirement. But the problem is that people's lives are far more complex than the amount on their paycheck. When you take in child support, you take in broken homes. And let's be fair, more than 50% of the marriages in this country end in divorce, and people are left with child support, alimony, palimony, all these different things. So once again, the mindset of the neoliberal world that we're in is, hey, let's just give it to some people. This is universal. This is a disgusting, disgraceful mindset that has permeated everything. I am all about citizens' rights. And Medicare for all, while I'm not a fan of Medicare for all in the sense of it being the end solution, I'd rather have an overall national health service. I don't even get a bill for it. I don't even want a bill. Don't even send me a bill. I just want to go to the doctor, get what I need done, go home, be about it, right? Just like I want to be able to sign up for college and go and get trained in what I want to get trained in, learn what I want to learn, and have it be considered an asset to society because it's a benefit of citizenry, or it's just a benefit of being a human being. What are your thoughts on this mean testing that I see a lot of people talking about? I see a lot of exceptions here, and we got to have another exception there. And it's all based in this idea that we don't have enough money. It's all based in the idea that, not everybody's deserving. Only certain ideological people are deserving of healthcare. They're deserving of college. They're deserving. And it's this ridiculous Calvinistic approach to life that you only deserve things. Fuck that. I want everybody to have it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I addressed this in my last article on Substack as well. People, state by state, people say things as though there's an asterisk. Healthcare is a human right in your state. Everybody in, nobody out in your state. Like, you are specifically talking about your state and saying things as though they're absolute. That is bullshit. That is hypocritical. And it's a blatant lie. There are no asterisks. If healthcare is a human right and you're a human, it's your right. Period. Fuck arbitrary. Who gives a shit? These groups, they really do exclude other people and then act like it's all of us together. It's not. And people are being duped by that. People are thinking that, yes, they'll do it, and then we'll do it, and then we'll do it. Like, how much time do we have, really? Because it's already failed in Washington, New York,
California,
Vermont, Maine, California. And you know how it failed in California? Because the guy who wrote the bill shelved it. Why? It's easier to buy off one person than it is an entire freaking Congress. Like, it's so blatantly obvious to anyone who actually, thinks critically. Like, think about people other than yourselves. Just think about it. Do you think it's more helpful and more advantageous for every single person in our country to fight for all, or for people to do, I got mine, I got mine, I got mine? Which is more beneficial? Because the thing about state by state people is they always talk about themselves. And the only time they ever say anything about national is when we call them out. Then all of a sudden, well,
we're divisive. We're divisive.
It's like, if all of y'all took your resources, your super PAC money and shit like that, and actually put it into all, then, I'm not telling somebody not to vote for the ballot initiative. It's your state. It's your state. And if you think it's going to better your healthcare, fucking do it. But what I'm saying is that national should be a priority. That's the point. It's never a priority. And they say things like, well, we went to DC to promote national. No, you didn't. You're holding up signs that have your state's name on it. No, you didn't. So
the opportunity to do national, they said, nah, psych. We're going to go ahead and California initiative, Washington initiative, New York initiative. Never putting, I didn't see any, and we looked, I had people on the ground all looking for that. Nope. Because we are going to call that bluff, right? And here's the thing. This is what I think is proof positive of some of this. Now, this is going to be tough for some people to hear, but during the election that saw Joe Biden beat Donald Trump, people wanted to get rid of Trump for all the right reasons. Trump was a bad guy. No question about it. Awful. The worst in terms of just being a bloviating piece of shit. Okay. But one of the things that people always fail to understand, it's like, when you're flipping a coin for overtime in football or something like that, and Sometimes you see a team select, I'll defend. I won't receive the ball first. I'll defend first. And you're like, what the heck, man? If they score first, they're going to lose. And the thing is, they recognize sometimes it's better to be on defense than offense, because sometimes you're not fit for offense. Okay. And when it came time for putting Biden up there, we lost 3/4 of the people that were out there fighting for Medicare, saying, oh, it matters so much to me. And, oh, student loans. Oh, yeah, let's get rid of them. They're gone. They're back to brunch. They're eating their avocado toast and they're hanging out having a skinny latte. They're literally not fighting for this stuff anymore. And the things they are getting hot and bothered about, they've got yellow and blue banners on their everything. It's anything the mainstream tells them to follow, they're following it around like they've got a chain hooked to their nose and they're being led around. And there isn't the kind of soul enemy that we all converged around and said, that's who we're fighting. That's what Trump gave us, like it or not, as bad as it sounds. We are so divided. If you ever go through Harrisburg, which I know you do, there's this one guy that stands on the corner and he's got a John 3:16 sign and he just stands there, dreadlocks, stands there. There's nobody around. People are driving by him and that's what we look like when we advocate for these programs, with 3/4 of the base locked away, gone, waiting for Rachel Maddow to give them their marching orders. Okay. And so how do we move forward? I mean, for real, like a lot of our movement has checked out. They've given up. They've lost hope. They don't believe anymore. They're angry at Bernie for capitulating twice to the corporate Democrat nominee. I mean, people are pretty disgusted and they're saying, how in the world are you going to get Medicare for all passed at the national level when we don't have the numbers? It's 70% of the people want Medicare for all, maybe more than that. But yet we got a feckless Congress that doesn't do anything. And few people are willing to speak on record. There are few people willing to fight for it. What is your take? I know you've talked to some individuals that are willing to work on this and help out.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, so-called leftists love to say that they're, about accountability and stuff, but who the hell's holding these people accountable? Who? So you go into their tweets once in a while and you're like, oh, you're full of shit. Cool. What's that doing? Not a damn thing. What, I get all the time. What's the point of this? It's stupid. Well, guess what? Women's right to vote, civil rights, all that stuff. What happened? People got in the fucking street. Okay, student debt, breadcrumbs. But what I'm going to say is, why did he finally give in? Because people pressured and pressured and pressured and pressured. You think he even would have given those breadcrumbs if people just stood by? No. So get off your fucking asses. Do something. I don't care what you do. And then don't come at people who are actually devoting their lives to freaking organizing, 100% volunteer, and trying anything and everything to help your asses too, and start, well, what's the point? Then don't come. If people come, it's that simple. But if you want change, it's not going to happen by sitting on your ass.
Absolutely. So you spoke with Ro Khanna. I know that Eric Kessner, when he was on here with me a few episodes ago, he had made mention that he was pretty frustrated with Ro, that Ro kind of gave him a kind of politician's answer after you guys talked to him. I'm going to just say it outright. I met Ro Khanna way back. There was a Millions for Medicare for All march in Washington, D.C. back in 2016, 2017 timeframe. And I went and I spoke at this event. It was very exciting because, my very first interview I ever did was with Margaret Flowers, and Margaret Flowers was going to be on there. Ro Khanna was going to be on there. Nina Turner was supposed to be there, but had scheduling conflicts. And there was a number of others that were there. But I got to meet Ro Khanna. And I've said this before, but I think it's worth reiterating. I felt like he was presidential. Now, I didn't know much about him. Let me just be crystal clear. This is not an assessment of his ethos, his politics, or anything, but he carries a very stately figure. He cuts a good, dude's tall. He is very stately, very, very put together, very affirming, good, solid handshake, no weak handshakes. I'm a big handshake guy. He definitely had the right handshake. And, but I confronted him and I said, Ro, I said, listen, man, I know for a fact you know MMT. I know for a fact that you know, because I talked to Stephanie Coughton and the gang, and they said, you know MMT. She's out there bragging you up as one of the few people that gets this thing. Why aren't you boldly proclaiming this? And he said, well, you know, there's fears of inflation, blah, blah, blah. And I just went, I was concerned. So after that, I kind of backed away from him a little bit because that was one of those right-wing talking points that you expect to hear. So I kind of said, all right, I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna keep an eye on him. So then, you know, over time, I've seen him repeatedly kind of give air cover, if you will, to big business and markets and things that I would expect a progressive to be a little bit different. So I wouldn't say I dislike Ro Khanna. I would just say that I have not been impressed with a few things that he's done of late that caused me pause. But what I'm hearing from you is that after you guys met with him, and I'll let you talk about that, but after you guys met with him, that he's come out and he's actually really supportive of what's going on. And I want to give you the floor because I'd love to be turned back on to Ro Khanna because, like I said, the man really blew me away when I stood with him. There was a presence about him. That isn't presidential, by the way. You got to do more than that. But my point is that for that base, superficial dude's got that gravitas for sure. So talk about
he does, and it's funny because he even said something about kind of hinting like he considered running for president in the future. So that was interesting. But you know, he actually reached out to us. He reached out to M for M for All and said, you know what? Can you guys come to DC and meet with me? I want to talk about your activism and stuff. And we were like, what? Now, I've had Ro on my show 4 times. I've met him several times in person as well. And he was one of the people that, you know, I did at least more so trust than others because he was on my show and talked about Assange and talked about, you know, things that are very important to me. So anyway, me and 3 others went to DC to meet with him. He met with us for over an hour. I went in and I was savage joy from the get. Like there were no hugs. There were no, hi buddy. Like, I was like, I am going to take this opportunity and use it. You know, I believe in accountability, and I know if this was live streamed right now, I'm going to ask the questions I know every single person would want to know. So we walk in there and I say, hey, Ro, I'm from Pennsylvania. Logan is from New Jersey, and Ricky is from New York. And then first thing he says when we sit down is CalCare. Well, I was a big supporter of CalCare and that didn't work. And I said, how does that help us? And that's how I started the meeting because I'm not going to fucking capitulate. I'm not going to kiss your ass. I'm going to fucking use this time. And then, you know, the more he said stuff, the more I pushed back because he is a politician. And that was very apparent. And yes, Eric was talking about, you know, because Ro has told me so many times, Stephanie Kelton is the best and she should be on every presidential, you know, cabinet and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, and he knows MMT, like he knows it. It is so obvious. But yeah, like he's like scared to say it publicly. But yeah, you know, and one of my favorite parts was, you know, Ro looked at me and he said, so if Biden runs again, are you going to vote for him? And I looked him in the eyes and I said, no. And he said, even if he's up against Trump? And I looked at him in the eyes and I said, no. Like, I'm not going to fucking lie. Why do I have to lie to you? Like, to get on your good side? No, you need to know reality. I'm one of millions of people. I'm done. I'm fucking done with this bullshit. I am done. So I just kept it real with him the entire time. And when I was there, I literally brought a folder like this thick of $15,000 of my medical bills with insurance from the past 2 years since I started going blind. And I said, because he's a millionaire, he doesn't understand, like $15,000 to him is like, oh. But I thought, if I bring this folder,
Give us a check, Ro.
What's that?
I said, give us a check, Ro.
Yeah, like, come on, dude, come on.
Oh man, hook a brother up, man. I'm Jones, and I want to get some teeth fixed.
Like, I will give you props forever. Just help me out. But yeah, I was like, if I bring tangibles, it's gonna make more sense to him. And when he saw the folder, he was just like, oh, and his face just kind of dropped. And I was like, this is with insurance. There are millions of me.
Aren't you grateful you can keep your insurance? I'm sorry,
yeah.
I couldn't resist.
So, I said, I know you were co-chair on Bernard's campaign, and Bernie's the only person I've ever heard talk about cancellation of medical debt. And it was on his platform. And Ro said, is that something you would be interested in? And I talked about it, and I said, you can hear people talk about student debt cancellation 24/7. Type it into Twitter. You will see hundreds of thousands of tweets come up. But who talks about medical debt cancellation? I said, if you search it on Twitter right now, I guarantee my tweets are the only ones that's going to pop up. And I said, this isn't fair, because medical debt is literally a direct cause of death. A direct cause. And it's the number one cause of bankruptcy. It's the number one cause of GoFundMe. It literally kills people. But everyone's focusing on student debt. I put a post the other day and said, challenge, post about medical debt cancellation as much as student debt cancellation. That's it. That's all I want. Just post about it as much. I got so much pushback. And I'm like, medical debt cancellation is necessary, because even if we, would pass Medicare for all, the fact of the matter is we deserve a fresh start as well. If we pass that today, millions of us still have medical debt. So yeah, it's cool for free now, but it's not retroactive. So I was trying to explain all this to Ro, and we met for over an hour. We left, and he texted me and he said, thanks so much for coming to DC to meet with me. Your story's so inspiring, and I love your fight, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not going to lie, I was pretty emotional, because during the meeting, he's, when he asked, I waited till I was out. But he was talking about, would you consider that legislation? Is that something you'd be interested in? And I thought about the possibility, and I'm just like, oh my God, like that would be so phenomenal, because even if it didn't pass, it would be talked about. And then when he texted me, and said those very kind things, it was nice, but I still thought, okay, well, he's a politician though, you know what I mean? So about a week and a half later, we got an email from Ro that he had started drafting legislation for the bill I proposed with Bernie Sanders. So they are literally working on that legislation to cancel medical debt.
Wow.
So, while it's not like my feelings are restored, I'm still like, trust me, watch me tweet at Ro. I am not nice. Because unless and until I get what I asked for, I'm kissing nobody's ass. Like,
thank you.
It's not gonna happen. Like, he posts every time he posts something, like he posted about student debt. And I was like, this is a picture of me standing with you after we talked about medical debt cancellation. Where's your tweet on that? Like, I still go at him. I'm not fucking around. This isn't, oh, he met with us. Oh, nope, not pulling that shit. I'm using this opportunity to fight for everyone. this was a once in a lifetime chance to sit there with a congressman. And then the next day we met with Jayapal was home in Seattle, but we met with her next in line, her legislative assistant, for over a half hour or so. And I went in again. I pulled out my thing of medical debt and I said, can you please take a picture of this and text it to Rep. Jayapal, like now? So she did it. And then I was like, okay, so here's the thing. I don't like when she posts tweets like, share this if you think, or what would Medicare for all mean to you? Because I was like, look, we know she's not going to read those comments. It's patronizing. It doesn't feel good. It's very like, you know what it would mean to us. You know. Or just stating, we need Medicare for all now, but you don't tag Biden. Who do you tag? You don't tag anyone. You're talking to people who already agree. You know, so I'm going off and I'm just saying all this stuff. I did talk to her about state by state as well. She said that at this point, Pramila has always been solely focused on national. That is good. She said she has, you know, she doesn't know if it will change or anything, but she has been very clear to state by state that at this point she is national.
Fingers crossed.
But you know, I held it down in that meeting too, and I was like, you know, and we've been talking ever since. Oh, I forgot to say too, we wrote a pledge, and I don't know the verbiage offhand, but it was like, I blank promise to fight with grassroots activists to push national Medicare for all, and it's like this big paragraph, and Rose signed it. So we have that tangible.
Well, that's good.
Post a picture of it every time he says something shit libby. I'll be like, remember you signed this, dude? These people are politicians. I don't owe them shit.
Stop protecting them, right? Stop being like mommy and daddy figures. They're servants and they're there to serve. When they serve money, they serve lobbyists instead of you and I. It's time to get angry. I don't care if they're the most progressive candidate out there. If they're not serving our needs, it's you're in the line of fire, period. Now, Joy, we got to wrap this up. So why don't you tell everybody all the particulars about the march?
Yeah, so July 30th in DC, we're going to start at the Ellipse and end up at the Union Station Park, I believe it's called. It's right in front of the Capitol building. You can go to M4, as in the number 4, M4M4all.org. We are absolutely desperate for donations. Anything you can give. We owe $2,000 just for a wheelchair accessible ramp. Just for that, it's $2,000. Anything you can give. It's you know, we are 100% volunteer. We also have some events coming up, a fundraiser, things like that. I have really special guests coming on that, but I'm not going to announce it yet. So sign up to our mailing list so you can get a heads up of all the events and stuff like that. But thank you so much to all our supporters. And please, please, please try your best to make it out.
Awesome. All right. So, folks, this is another episode of Let's Get Ready to Grumble. I want to thank my guests, Savage Joy, for joining me today. And with that, we're out of here.
And still